Right, this afternoon we are going to be doing some activities which are going to help you to learn about places abroad. We're going to be using some dice, which I've made, with some photographs on. I asked the children to throw the dice, and whichever picture their right thumb is touching is the one that they are to describe to the class. They love the big dice. They think it's very exciting and it's big and they can touch it and hold it and throw it around. I want to model to the children how they are to do their activity when they're in groups to encourage them to think about questions, the sorts of questions they may ask. Now, to help us do that, because you might not be able to think of some questions, I have made some little question marks. OK. And on the question marks are some question words. The question cards serve as a prompt for the children who find it more difficult to generate their own questions. So if you really can't think of anything, and you can't think of anything to say, and you couldn't think of anything to ask, then you could turn over one of these and read the question word which is on the bottom.
Where do you think it is?
I think carefully choosing the photographs so that you have a whole range of aspects of that particular country or that particular place should encourage children to think that actually there may be alternative viewpoints to those which they may already have or those which they have formed just from looking at one of the pictures on the dice. So let's see if we can find out more about that picture. Alexia.
I think it's somewhere in Spain or something. Does it look like it was from a long time ago? It looks a bit like when Miss Haynes was younger than she is now.
OK, thank you. On each table, there's going to be two little groups of three. One group is going to have a dice with some more pictures of an overseas place, somewhere that's not in Britain. And then the other three children, you're going to have a dice with some pictures taken in Britain. Three, you're going to roll the dice, all right, and you're going to describe the picture. And then after you've done that for a little while, and I've been listening into your really good answers, then you're going to swap dice. I would tend to group the children myself as to ensure that they were mixed ability groups, rather than just friendship groups where the children may be inclined just to sit and have a chat.
It's a beach with lots of water and it's got a pier on it and I think the tide's coming out.
When would you go there?
In summer. I think there might be some couples who are walking along the beach.
I want to try and encourage the children to use the photographic evidence that they've got in front of them to answer the more straightforward questions, but also to begin to understand that there are some aspects of contrasting and overseas localities that you can't find out just from a photograph.
It's very foresty and lots of trees around.
Yeah.
Jungly.
Who lives in a house like that?
Maybe
George of the jungle.
Why is there no front drive?
Because if it's a poor area, which it might be, then again they might not be able to afford the cars.
I see myself as a facilitator, listening to the conversations, helping children to generate questions, and perhaps for some children who are able to ask and answer quite straightforward questions, I would encourage them to answer some more complex questions or even pose questions that they cannot find the answers to just from the photographs. Does it look like fresh fruits and fresh vegetables? So what is it then?
Canned food.
Canned food, good girl. So it's canned food. We can't see what's in the cans. And then does that look like the co-op?
No.
What do you think that is?
Scales.
Scales? What are they going to do with the scales?
To weigh the food.
To weigh the food? That's interesting, isn't it? I'm hoping that the children will become better at asking questions of evidence in general, rather than just accepting and describing what they're seeing. Learning to ask questions and to understand that the answers may not always be what the answers they're expecting. When you look at pictures, there's only so much information you can get from a picture. But what I wanted you to do was to ask those questions.
This activity is actually called drawing a wordscape. Very similar to a landscape, except in this case you don't actually just colour the pictures in or colour the landscape in. You use words to describe that landscape, and it's those words which actually create the picture itself. think of all the different ways you can describe what you can see in the picture, maybe what you would hear if you were there. What would it feel like to be there? What could you touch when you're there? What might you be able to smell when you're there? And we're going to use all of these words to paint the picture of this place. By actually using this activity, they're actually thinking about how they're going to describe what they can see. And although they quite often think it's just a language activity, it actually goes much, much deeper. So we're going to be drawing just the outline, not all the details, just the outline. You can now see we're left with the outline that you're going to have. OK, so you've just got the outline. The main aim here is, first of all, to show the children how to use the different colour, so they're using the correct colour in the various areas of the landscape, to ensure they don't go over the lines, obviously, otherwise the landscape doesn't actually work, and also to show them how they can change the size, the direction and the shape of their letters to actually fill a whole of a landscape area in with words, so they are literally painting with their words. All of the children will have on their table at this point in time a landscape each and a blank piece of paper or an outline already drawn, depending on the differentiation that you're providing from those children. It's also useful to have dictionaries and thesaurus on the table at the same time. Oh, good boy, Henry, using the thesaurus. Yeah. What word are you looking for?
Warm. They're a bit shiny, go say. Huh? Yeah. The middle ones are a bit shiny. Huh? Waves. Oh, I can actually use that, thanks.
For the children that have particularly lower ability or the lower ability groups, it's really useful to have the whiteboards out so you can brainstorm all together. Do you want to try deep on your whiteboard first, just to make sure? Sound out, duh. We've done the E sound, haven't we? One idea for the lower ability group is to actually draw the outline for them first. Another way you can actually differentiate is by giving the children different types of photographs. So you can have much simpler ones for the children who have a smaller vocabulary, or you can have more complicated photographs for the children who you really want to stretch and extend. A further way you can actually change this activity is by doing it on the computer. Sometimes when they're just colouring in, they just concentrate on just the colour and the shape. They don't really look at what a place is like. And by using the words and the vocabulary, they do get a much deeper understanding of what a place is like. I'm going to give you a bit of a puzzle this afternoon, though, because I want to see how well you know St Lucia and how well you know London. The idea is for the children to actually look at different photographs from two different locations, preferably one which is local and the other one which is a distant locality, and start to look in detail at what the locations are like. Let's see if you can pick out which are St Lucia photos and which are London photographs. What's it a picture of? Otis?
London, because the houses look quite different to St Lucia.
Once they've identified where they think it's from, you then have to start questioning why they think it's from that place.
The sky is quite white, it's quite dark, and in St Lucia the sky is really white.
Good boy, Otis, well done, because you've used all the evidence from the actual buildings and you've used the evidence from the climate, what it's actually like, the weather. You have got between two, so with your partner, you have got two boards. One says London and it's got spaces for 6 photographs. One says St Lucia and it's got spaces for 6 photographs. All of the children would already have on their table the 2 sorting boards or bingo boards and a whole selection of the photographs they're going to sort in an envelope on the table ready for them to use. Can you put the London photographs on the London board, the St Lucia photographs on the St Lucia board, but when you're talking with your partner and deciding where they're going to go, I want you to discuss with your partner why you think they belong in that place.
This one, I think, is definitely St Lucia. they're like dressed up in London. We occasionally don't normally have that much dressing up.
It's English because I can tell by the writing.
That would be St. Lucia because we normally don't have that type of feather dressing
Or hats.
If you find that a child has most obviously got one of the pictures in the wrong place, the idea is not to actually suggest to them that it's incorrect, but just question them carefully to ask them why do they think they've actually put that photograph in that location. Oh, right, girls, you think you're finished? Yeah. Right, talk me through these then. Why do you think this one is London? As you go around and actually talk to the children, it's a perfect way of assessing their learning. You can actually see just how much understanding they've got of what a place is like.
Normally in London there's loads of shops and in St. Lucia there's not as many shops.
Okay. This activity is really useful if you've got a particularly mixed ability class because it doesn't matter what ability they are, you can just use the same activity. Picture of the person in the headdress. Let's see, where do we think this is? Stephanie, where do you think this one is?
In St. Lucia.
Why do you think that's St. Lucia?
Because it's more of like a parade-ish thing, and then in London they wouldn't really have much shiny things.
It's always nice to ask the whole class whether they agree or disagree. And this is where you normally get the great surprise and the shock where you suddenly see, well, actually, you're all wrong when they get one completely wrong because it's one that you've put in to throw the children. Thumbs up if you think that's St. Lucia, you agree with the two girls. Well, you're all wrong. That's London. That's the Notting Hill Carnival that takes place every year in August. Let's see, where do we think this one is?
I think it's in London because it's busy and it's got lots of shops which are normally, they have lots of customers.
I think it's London because it's very posh and lit up.
Very posh and lit up. OK.
And in St. Lucia they don't really have lit up shops with lights.
It's particularly useful if, for example, you're looking at India, some of the African countries, where through the media in general we can sometimes get a very skewed opinion and picture of what these countries are like. Thumbs up if you agree with these two boys. Brilliant. I've tricked you again. That one's St. Lucia. Although we've learnt lots about St. Lucia, I still managed to trick you. Because sometimes we get a picture in our heads of what a country or a place is like, and sometimes it's not quite right.
Me and Christian were really, really surprised when we heard Miss Watson say that nearly the whole class was wrong.
The St. Lucia ones were quite strange because we've been learning them for several weeks now, and some of them we thought were London, but they were actually St. Lucia.
I think she made us think how similar the capital city is to London.
Yeah, to our main city.
Yeah.